Welcome back to More Than Commas, the podcast where we remind you that your wealth is more than dollar signs, where it's about building a life that really matters. I'm Paul Adams, and today we're going to be asking the important question, is your wealth a tool or a trophy? You see, for many, wealth becomes something that they show off to prove some worth, to keep score, but wealth isn't about status. It should be about stewardship. It's about using your resources to build, to bless, and create impact. And that's what we're going to dig into today. But before we begin, make sure you're subscribed. I don't want you to miss any future episodes. And if this show has helped you, leave us a review, make a comment below, and we just hope it's going to help more people find this message. So let's start with the trophy view of wealth. We've all seen it, the luxury cars bought not for the joy of driving, but for the signal that they send. Houses for way larger than what's needed, chosen more for appearances than for family needs. Vacations posted online, more for the likes than they are for the memories. And the truth is that when wealth becomes a trophy, it's fragile because trophies demand an audience. They need recognition to feel valuable. And that means that your joy is tied to others' perceptions. Dr. Thomas Stanley, author of The Millionaire Next Door and the book that is one of my favorites, Stop Acting Rich, found that true wealth builders rarely lead trophy lifestyles. They're often quiet millionaires, average neighborhood, driving practical cars, focused on financial independence rather than appearing some certain way. You see, those status spenders who look wealthy often don't have the net worth to show for it. Now, I want you to contrast that with seeing wealth as a tool. A tool is designed to do work, to build, to solve problems. In the right hands, tools can create freedom, opportunity, legacy. It funds education. It creates businesses that employ people. It supports ministries and nonprofits and changes lives. It buys time, more time with family, time to take for service or time to rest. Wealth as a tool itself doesn't need any applause or even anybody to know it's there. It's not how it looks, it matters what it does. Like if you think about owning a drill, it's often said in sales circles, people are not buying the drill, they're buying the hole they want the drill to make. You don't buy a drill because you want a drill, you buy a drill because you need a hole. But too often people get caught up showing how shiny and expensive their drill, if you will, is, the demonstration of wealth, rather than what the wealth is going to do for them. See, the point was never the tool itself, but what it's allowing you to get done. And wealth is the same. It's not about the drill. It's about the holes that you need to make, the life you want to build, the people you want to help, or the future that you're working to secure. Now, there's a biblical connection here too. You guys can go into 1 Timothy 6, 17 through 18, but it says to people to not put their trust in wealth that's uncertain, but put their trust in God, and to go out, do good, be rich in good deeds, be generous and willing to share. You see, the only way we're ever going to have the ability to be generous is if we intentionally cultivate contentment in our own lives. You see, for many people, it's super hard for them to be generous if they don't know that they're going to be okay first.
This episode is brought to you by Sound Financial Group. At Sound Financial, we specialize in helping clients build strong, long-term financial strategies for their retirement. If you're looking for personalized advice to help manage your wealth, visit us at sfgway.com to learn more about how we can help you achieve your goals.
Now, when wealth becomes a trophy, here's what usually comes after that. First is going to be comparison. Like, these are the things, if you notice yourself doing this, it might have crossed over to be a trophy for you. There's always somebody that has something better. Comparison is a huge trap, and it is the thief of all joy. It's something we've been teaching our kids from the time they were really young, is to compare something runs the risk of stealing your joy. Then it's distraction. It's distracting because energy has to go into these appearances. Right? Like you can't, you have to wash the new car more often than you have to wash the old car. But then maybe most importantly is the fragility. If your wealth becomes component of status for you, any downturn, that could be financial, social, etc., really has this like threatening stand against your identity that can cause all of those situations that would otherwise already be stressful to be much more so. Now, here's the thing. We have a biological urge to handle our money poorly. You see, early on in our country, it was really different. You had this culture of frugality. You may remember from reading in your American history class that people would talk about this virtue of frugality. Ben Franklin talked about the virtue of frugality. Where did that go? Why did we get rid of it? Well, you see, back then, if you accumulated some amount of wealth, it was almost always in things that people could see. For instance, if Corey owned the printing press in the next 3 towns, we know he was of some means. If Elijah owns what we think is 8,000 head of cattle up on the hillside, or Lance owned 15,000 sheep, you would know that they were men of means, that they had accumulated capital because they're the one that owns the bar, or they're the ones that own the printing press. It was the asset could be seen by others. So it met this biological urge that we all have to shake our peacock feathers to demonstrate to the other critters that we are successful. Back then, being financially responsible and looking successful looked the same. But that's not the case anymore. You see, now it's all visible, and the very things that are visible are most of the time wealth eroding things. Things like a house that's more than what you and your family need. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have a luxury. It's not where I'm going. It's that it should be getting something done for you, or you realize that it's just something you wanted and you wanted it because you wanted it, or even be straight with yourself and say you wanted it because of how you're going to appear. Those are all okay things. The problem is if we think we're accumulating wealth, and what we're not doing, we're accumulating trophies. We're not accumulating real tools. So wealth today isn't in all of those things. It's in an index fund. It's in your bank account. It's in your 401k. It's in your rental properties that people don't know you own, right? It's your wealth is positioned in all of those things. People can't see them. And as a result, we need to go out of our way to make sure we're cultivating contentment, that we're clear what we want for our households and what we want for our families. Because if we're clear on what we want, then a lot of the other things that come in and the temptations to treat wealth as a trophy are easier to say no to because we're not in the comparison trap anymore. Now, if you use wealth as a tool, it can bring freedom. One of the biggest things it does is as soon as you really start building your balance sheet and you see the results, you get the opportunity to live below your means without apology. Freedom to say no to the things that don't align with your plan. But if you don't have a plan, it's really hard to say no to anything. See, if you think about it as a tool, you can think about it as the tool that has the power to create. A trophy is just going to sit there and gather dust. Now, for those of you watching the tilt, you know I just got this Cybertruck. What all of you may not know is socially I've existed as what I might describe as a gray man in social settings. I don't drive flashy cars. I don't have flashy watches. I have really, really nice backpacking gear. And that's the only, a really expensive tent that's lightweight is like my conspicuous consumption and has been for over a decade. And it's a little strange now when I show up in this brand new Cybertruck that I'm watching people who saw me be generous to nonprofits here locally, who treated me as just any old person. But suddenly, as soon as I'm driving a car that they would deem as luxury or that people deem as successful, all of the conversations around what I do and everything else have changed. And the thing is, I'm going to share with y'all as my thinking develops on it, is I'm actually undecided. Like as a for instance, did I do a great job in just resisting the urge to do any level of consumption? And what I'm really asking is for you guys to comment below on this. Because I don't know if I made the right decision of holding back all that consumption and saving the money and driving paid off cars and being the gray man and, kind of flying below the radar as a top 1% earner because people didn't know I was. I own a company where people don't see all the employees in a building every day. Our employees are kind of spread out all over the country. And as a result, I don't have that extra identity kick. So one thing that's happening to me now is I'm very visible. And I think it's going to drop the cost of some of the transactions or how people view me as an advisor. And so I'm up in the air as to whether or not the last 15 years or so of living radically within my means really is going to pay off in a way that, now I'm gonna see some fruit now that it's not a big financial decision to buy the Cybertruck. Or am I going to look back and say that 10 years I should have been driving nice attention-getting cars? Now, if I had done it, it wouldn't have been for the trophy reason. It would have been for the very practical reason of, people might transact easier. I don't think that's the case. Here's what my current hypothesis is, and we'll see where this goes. I think it's just that it's new. And it's new to them that I'm doing this, etc. And I think it will just wear off. And it will stop being new to me. And it'll stop being new to any of those people. And it'll just settle back to where it was. And my thought is that the people whose attention it gets the most, who might now deem me as looking more successful, might be the people who need to learn the most about money. And maybe those are the people that we need to engage the most at Sound Financial Group to help them make better decisions. So with that, I hope that this episode was valuable to you today. I would just have you ask yourself, look at the last years of spending and just see whether or not any of the things that you bought, any big items, etc., were in any way a trophy. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it's really good to acknowledge, to the extent that we're expending money to acquire trophies or look a certain way, it's totally fine. People do it all the time. People buy makeup and they say, oh, yep, I buy this much of makeup every month, and they're doing it to look a certain way. It's totally fine. But do you know what you're paying to look a certain way versus what you have to pay for to get the tools that you need to live the life you want? So with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope you all enjoyed. I did, Corey got me a hat that says Sound Financial Group I'm pretty happy about. So I showed it off to all of you today. And get back out and living a great life.